and welcome to Conversations for the Animals. I am Lisa Tynan with Houston Pet Set, and today I am joined by Beth Bellanti or Bellanti?
It could be either.
Whichever you prefer. With Tito's Handmade Vodka and their Vodka for Dog People program, which we're very excited to learn all about today. I want to start off just by introducing the fact that Tito's Handmade Vodka has been a supporter of Houston Pet Set several times in the past. And in fact, y'all supported us during our 2022 Fierce and Fabulous soiree this year and helped us raise well over $1 million. So thank you so much for that. We are grateful to have y'all as partners. So today we're going to learn a little bit about you, Beth, and about what you do and what Tito's Handmade Vodka does for the animals. And hopefully we'll get some really good information about animal welfare and about how not just individuals, but corporations and companies can help support the animals here in Houston. So thank you, welcome, and introduce yourself. Tell us a little about you.
Well, my name is Beth. I'm here at headquarters at Tito's in Austin, Texas, although I am program manager for our Vodka for Dog People program. So I help the entire Team Tito's across the U.S. and beyond activate Vodka for Dog People in their markets to raise more funds for animal nonprofits.
That's awesome. So for those who don't know, Tito's is Austin-based, correct? And it's a local brand for our fellow Texans because, we in Texas love Texas. How long has Tito's been around?
Well, this happens to be our 25th anniversary year.
Oh, happy anniversary.
A lot of people think it's a really new company, but it really just was such a startup with just a few of us that it took a while to really get it going. But that's been an amazing journey over 25 years.
So you just said a few of us. Have you been around since the beginning?
20 of the 25 years.
Wow.
So it was still early enough that there was just a handful of us helping him.
That's amazing. So Tito is a person.
He sure is.
Okay.
His name is Tito Beverage with a D. And his background was in geophysics and geology.
Okay.
He's kind of an inventor, MacGyver. And so through a bunch of different job changes, he turned his hobby of flavoring vodka into actually making it.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Very interesting. So you've been with Tito's for quite a while. I'm saying Tito. Am I allowed to abbreviate it with Tito's?
Yes,
I know.
yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure I'm following the brand standards. Yes, of course. So when you got involved, was there a Vodka for Dog People already, or did you start in another part of it and you've moved over into this arena?
Well, it evolved over time with not so much of even a conversation. It was just part of our culture. And then it got to be so prominent in our culture that we put a name on it.
Okay.
So I have been rescuing animals and dogs my whole life. My parents did the same. So once I started at Tito's, the distillery is actually out in a part of Southeast Austin that's very rural. So affordable vet care and spay-neuter is hard to come by. And a lot of people just don't have fences around their property.
Sure.
So there is a stray dog problem. So it's like I just took my life of rescuing, and then it just happened to be happening where I worked. And Tito had already been doing a little bit of that because these stray dogs smelled Tito's dog, his original dog from 20 years ago, Dog Joe. They would smell her food and come up. And so we thought, well, we've got to help these animals. They were very often in terrible shape. So, but back then we were very short on funds as a startup. We were very much in debt. So we relied on a group called Emancipet, who you may know.
You know and love, yes.
Yes. So we could they really helped us out affording to fix up our strays. And so I started to post these dogs on social media after social media was invented. And the dogs, like trying to find them homes, and I would just brand them as distillery dogs. So people would be like, oh, I want a Tito's dog. And so people would keep adopting them. And finally, they got so popular, and then the dog culture, and we were bringing our dogs to work. There are dogs everywhere. Everyone said, okay, it's starting to get more likes than the vodka, so we need to move it over. So we started a microsite called Vodka for Dog People, and we started branding our leashes and bowls and things so that the proceeds could go to Emancipet to pay it forward for them helping us. And so as of last week, we're up to 121 rescues so far at the distillery.
just the dogs that have come through physically at your distillery. That's outrageous. That's so many dogs. That's so many dogs.
Yes, it's like, there's probably 4 parts to my job, and a very big part is just trying to get them care quickly. As you know, there's a vet shortage and it's hard to get appointments sometimes. So just getting them out of trouble and rounded up. A lot of them are feral. I mean, every situation's different. And thank goodness we have a lot of support by being Vodka for Dog People.
Yeah. So we keep mentioning Tito's for Dog People, and understandably, it is a program, and it is designed to help and support animal welfare. In what ways? How does Tito's get involved? How does Vodka for Dog People pay it forward? Other than, supporting Emancipet directly, because obviously you supported us, which is phenomenal, and we also support other animal welfare groups.
Right. So it started with Emancipet. And then all of our teams out in the U.S. said, well, we want to help our local community. And at the time, Vodka for Dog People was just my side love project at Tito's. I was, working in several other departments. Like my main thing at Tito's has been marketing.
Okay.
So now I'm like a hybrid of marketing, philanthropy, and then helping sales activate Vodka for Dog People in licensed accounts that sell Tito's. So that's also kind of how it works. So eventually they said, okay, Beth, you've got to scale it. Vodka for Dog People is now your job because everybody wants to do it. So we just figured out, we have a very narrow scope of our mission. Not to say that we don't work with rescues. Obviously we do, but we're very solution based, which is why we've stuck with Emancipet. They're our legacy partner, and spay, neuter, and affordable wellness and inclusion in animal welfare, which we like to call animal well-being now. Those are our lanes that we stay in as far as being solution based. So and it's not just dogs, by the way. We help donkey, alpaca, bat, wildlife, you name it.
I love it.
Yes, we help all animals. It's just that dogs are our story, and we know more about how the populations are doing in certain cities and where to put what. So so that is our main focus is spay, neuter, and affordable care, and but we do work in other capacities as well.
And so if, when you are looking for groups to support or partner with, is that something where someone reaches out to you and says, hey, we would love support from Tito's? Are you scanning the field out there and trying to find groups that you think?
I do some scanning just because I want to stay on top of who's innovating. So I want to know where we should be, where we can make the most impact through the nonprofits. And we are at about 3,000 or over partnerships.
Wow.
Or sponsorships basically with nonprofits in the whole country right now and beyond that as well. So I am looking at that, but the way to submit, if you're an animal group, the way to submit for support from us is to go to titosvodka.com/dogs, or sorry, that's the dog part. titosvodka.com/donation.
Donation. Got it.
It will take you through the steps, and according to where you're located, the request will go to that exact team in your location, and they will look it over and see. We have a lot of legal kind of requirements as a liquor brand in philanthropy, so it's just a case by case basis if we can find a way to help out.
That's awesome. I was recently enjoyed visiting the Emancipet here in Houston. They had truck pulls at a couple different locations. And I was pleased to see that y'all had a booth there. So I see outreach is also part of your mission. Yeah. So when you're there at those events, what is it that what message are you trying to spread?
Well, at events, we're just boosting up the nonprofit. So the things that we're kind of responsible for is just fun and trying to shine a light on a nonprofit by being there. But we do, we have all kinds of dog swag that we give away. So we have prizes. Sometimes we have games, we have tastings, that kind of thing. We have dog photo booths, which you can have your dog sit in front of a distillery shack. So they're now a honorary distillery dog. We just have fun kind of things like that we take to nonprofit events, and also yappy hours, of course, at dog friendly venues.
Awesome. Gotta love a yappy hour. Sometimes just that's the only thing you can think about at the end of a week. It is. So for those who have just popped in or tuning in, this is Conversations for the Animals. I'm Lisa Tynan with Houston Pet Set, and I'm talking with Beth Bellanti with Tito's Handmade Vodka and Vodka for Dog People. So when we spoke a little bit leading up to this conversation, and one of the things you mentioned to me that stuck out was that you had been kind of eyeing Houston, and it was on your radar, and it was an area that you felt that Tito's could make an impact. What was it about Houston that caught your eye?
Well, in the early days, after we got Austin going with Tito's being in stores and bars and whatnot, Tito sent me to Houston for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
He got me an apartment there that I could have my dog at, because I didn't go anywhere without her.
Sure.
And so I was there every 2 weeks for 2 years. So there's one thing. So I'm very familiar with the city. My husband's from there. But another really amazing kind of tipping point was that CNN was in town doing a story about Tito, and the reporter and I became friends. And she said, "Oh, have you seen Corridor Rescue is up for Hero Dog Award with CNN?" She's like, "Go look at it." And I did. And I was just, again, like overwhelmed by the story and the overpopulation on the streets of Houston. It's, kept me up at night a long, long time. So that happened. And so I stayed in touch. I got in touch with Corridor, helped them with some events. This is before Vodka. This is back in like 2010. So this is before Vodka for Dog People was my job. And through them, I met some folks who also started their own nonprofit, K911 Rescue, and we stayed really close. And then as I evolved with Emancipet, as we grew up together, our talks, they're teaching me, they're my mentor of what's going on in the world of animals. And so Amy Mills, and I said, Houston, we got to get Emancipet to Houston, that was their plan. So it was just incredible to watch that happen and see Emancipet grow outside of Austin and go to Houston. And so we're just thrilled with all the different clinics going up there. That's been just a huge long-term goal, and it's happening. And then we also just did a episode of the TV show To the Rescue, and we had the TV crew go to Houston with us, and we worked with all of the groups I just mentioned, saving street dogs. So Houston is just will always be a priority, and we have a local team there. But I just feel like for so long, since the beginning, I've been working on this. My heart has been there. It's everywhere, but Houston is the closest place where I saw the biggest problem, the soonest, and of course all of South Texas is tough too.
Sure. And since you have these teams that are kind of all over the country and you're able to see and compare, and I ask this just because we talk about on our podcast and on all the conversations that we have that it feels like the problem is worse in Houston than so many other places. But, those of us who are living here, we might be biased because we're confronted with the problem all the time. But from your experience and from your feedback that you're hearing from other teams, is that the case? I mean, are things truly worse here? Is it as bad as we feel like it is?
I think so. I hate to say that. I mean, we all in the South have a bigger problem because it doesn't get cold.
Right.
So that's why a lot of the reasons the North is different. And so I think Houston's just a really big city, and maybe accessibility was tough and affordability way back in the beginning, and it just got really out of hand. So, I think I still feel in my heart we're all making progress, and we're all coming together, just being able to do this podcast and talk to you and hopefully, get more of the word out about the South, and what we're up against here, and just needing, to get everybody to be able to afford. I think everybody wants to do the right thing. We just have to give them the resources to do it.
Absolutely. So, here in Houston and South Texas, you said the focus is really solution-based and on spay and neuter. Is it the same across the country for your program, or do you find that different areas of the country have sort of different needs and different focuses that they have to work on?
They totally do. There's some places now who are getting the storms. And so we're doing natural disaster response for them. In the South, it's spay neuter and affordability and accessibility, and up north, they have it a little easier. Although I will say this is the toughest time I've ever seen. I think that's the pandemic. Yeah. There wasn't a lot of spay neuter happening. And I think we're seeing that. We're seeing people evicted, losing their homes. So right now is crisis everywhere. So I don't want to downplay that at all.
Yeah.
But on the East, it just gets cooler. If there is ever any room, on transports, that's usually where they go. And of course, they've made transport harder now too through the government. So there's a lot of odds against everything right now.
It does feel like that, doesn't it? Did you notice during the pandemic that you were getting more calls for assistance, or has it just been steady since you've started?
What I noticed, we pretty much just studied what was going on every day, because we couldn't be out doing our events, right? So we really focused on food insecurity. That became very clear.
Okay.
That pet food insecurity and human food insecurity was rough. So we worked really hard on that. And then just waiting in the wings for spay neuter, to make sure everybody had what they needed when it got going again. Same with transport, like people don't understand transport has to be done right now. It's something we hope we don't have to do forever.
Yep.
But just getting dogs moved to where there's
Absolutely.
room, like everything was harder. So, we weren't really taken up with being able to leave the house. So we really got to focus on the big picture things that were going on. So that was an interesting time, and a time where we actually learned a lot, because we were just sitting here focusing and worrying and being like, what can we do?
Yeah. It had so much negative around it, but also I feel like a lot of innovation and a lot of creativity took place, because, like you said, people had time to sit and look at the problem from all angles.
Yes. I made connections, and that now, like the last year, I've been going out to meet all the people I met on Zoom.
Oh yeah.
In person, and it's just felt very profound, like to just connect everyone, and it really definitely went up a level as far as finding other people with like-minded intentions.
Yeah. So you sent me a video that I watched that was really a wonderful video, an interview of Tito himself. And, he said, one of the things that he said was basically like, why focus on one thing? We could help everybody. We have the resources. Let's help everybody. So you have Vodka for Dog People, which is very specifically for animals and animal welfare. But it sounds like Tito's is just a generally philanthropic group. What other things are y'all working on out there?
Oh, you name it.
Everything.
Yeah. So the philanthropy team, like that's a whole bunch of people, and there's every level of project on that. We have people looking into literal world problems that we can afford to help with, that maybe aren't getting the eyes on them. So all sorts of research, and again, natural disaster response. And I mean, honestly, it's just all over the place. But the human side is just massive. And, I'm lucky. My passion outside of work is now my passion at work. And so I get to focus on the animal stuff. But, and again, the philanthropy was never a conversation. I mean, the first thing about Tito's in his story is that we didn't have a budget or marketing to pay and play. We had product, but then Tito himself just wanted to give back to the community from day one. He just wanted to stay in Austin, be able to afford to live here. So we didn't have the goals. We never imagined all of this. So we were always going to a nonprofit event with a case of vodka, and we were bartending, back in the day when we were able to, we would just start serving at a party and telling the story. And that's how we got to know everyone in Austin with nonprofits. And then we just took that, what we were already doing, and then when we actually hired people everywhere, they started doing it too. So all of these things we do, like, we were just doing them so much we had to put a name on it. But it is just the fiber of where we started. Tito, none of us were in this for the money. It was just such a crazy challenge to get it going and do things differently, and to just be a little family and not, a huge corporation.
So coming back to animals and coming back to Houston, the people who listen to this podcast, we have both, our audience consists of rescues and our rescue partners and our granting partners, but also members of our community and just people who love animals in general. And, we always try and come away from these conversations with like an action item, something that people can do. So talking to Houstonians or anyone beyond who's listening or watching this podcast, what is a way that someone can get involved with Tito's and with Vodka for Dog People if they want? Because, a lot of times people, they won't donate to one group here or there, but you're sort of an umbrella organization. You can affect a lot of different groups at once. So how can someone get involved with Tito's and with Vodka for Dog People?
Well, we are not a foundation, so there's no way to you can support Tito's by drinking Tito's and coming to our events. And and seeing who's featured at our events. That's one way. You can watch our Instagram at Vodka for Dog People. Sometimes we're able to show some of the things that we're doing. Also, if anyone buys swag on our web store, they're able to choose Emancipet as the beneficiary of the proceeds from that item. And then if you do a little photo shoot with your dog or your cat or your hedgehog, you can send in the photo and have it possibly posted to our Instagram. And so that is super, super fun. And that's how that works. So I guess it's just kind of staying up to date with us on our Instagram and watching for dog friendly accounts or nonprofits post that we're going to be somewhere with them.
Okay.
I would say that's the greatest thing. And if you're just looking for action items of advice for Houston on I don't know how I think we can help change things, I would love to see someone who, maybe it's us, do some sort of campaign on encouraging fostering and supporting that more.
Yeah.
I feel like we have a lot of people that are afraid. And I personally took a dog off the street of Houston who was pregnant, and she is the joy of our life. Her name is Jennifer Joy. And just showing that, like, these street dogs, we've got to get these street dog mothers off out of the ravines, right? So we're also working with Three Little Pitties Rescue in Houston.
Okay.
And we've just helped them purchase some sheds as maternity units for street dogs. So I'd love to see that get supported some more through all the nonprofits willing to do it. Taking in a street mama and going through that process was just like my favorite. I might have my own she shed built so I can keep doing it.
I love that.
I think that's it. And then also just supporting Emancipet to get these clinics open, because it's endless. We just need to keep serving people and helping empower them to afford to take care of their pets. Everyone should have one, no matter what.
Yeah, that's, we had Angelita, the VP of Emancipet Houston, here on our podcast. She's just one of my favorite people. And we talked a lot about how, financial hardship should not be a barrier to pet ownership. And that's one of the reasons Houston Pet Set supports groups that are providing low cost. We provide low cost spay neuter. And we so encourage people to try and help keep pets in homes if they can. If it's just a matter of they can't afford one vet bill, well, we can help with that, right? Like, why would we want to take a dog out of a happy home and put it in the system when it doesn't have to leave? So, yes, when you said fostering, oh, my eyes lit up. We've been talking internally so much about that, about how we're seeing all of these rescues and all of these shelters just filled to the brim, and they're almost panicking because they don't have anywhere for these animals to go, and just opening your home for a weekend, a week, a couple weeks to get an animal out there can do so much good. And who knows, maybe you'll fall in love with a street mama.
Yeah, I think people are just afraid of giving them up at the end, but we've got to help people with that mindset, you know, and support it and give all the different sides to that. I love having as many as possible. I just want to live long enough to have as many as possible. And, sometimes I get to dog sit my fosters after they've gone. And so I just feel like, it's just like having 100 children, it's like love as many as you can. If we can get people in that mindset where, you've got to think about the dog more, like your pain is temporary, whereas it's life or death for them. So.
Oh, absolutely. I love how you put that. That's perfect. Well, this has been wonderful. Tito's and Vodka for Dog People is just such a great initiative, such a great partnership to have for us and so many of the folks that we work with. So thank you for everything. And I can say you specifically because this is your baby, essentially. So thank you for all that you have done. One more time, I want to remind people, what is the website they can go to if they are interested in some partnership and support with Tito's?
And this is all across the board. Animals or humans. If you're a nonprofit and want to be considered, if you have got an event coming up, or a campaign or a dire situation, you can go to titosvodka.com/donation, and they will there's instructions on how to submit for some support.
Excellent. And we're going to put that website on our podcast description and everything. And then you said the Instagram handle was?
Yes, that's at Vodka for Dog People. And the website is titosvodka.com/dogs. And we are about to launch our new Vodka for Dog People video. So be watching for that. And then I also highly recommend the YouTube channel because there's just so many videos about animals and Tito and There's just, how to make, a new kind of Tito's drink, you name it. It's just
There's something for everybody.
There. It goes really far back. So it's really fun to see like how things have evolved.
Yeah, that's so cool. And it's so nice to hear the perspective of someone who's been with it since the beginning. In animal welfare, we unfortunately see a lot of turnover. It's just the nature of the beast, but it is nice to see, you have been in it since the beginning, and it's obviously something that's very meaningful and important to you. And that shows in the work that you do, that it has touched you and it has touched the team and Tito himself. So thank you for all of the good that y'all do for the animals and the people of Houston and beyond. Yeah. Beth, thank you so much for joining me. This has been Conversations for the Animals. I am Lisa Tynan with Houston Pet Set. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.